I saw this post and it said, that manga about pirates and ships, yet we've never seen a ship drawn as beautifully as these. And then the post proceeds to show two ships, obviously from the manga Berserk, showing this panel right here, as well as this panel right here, saying Oda does not compare to this in any way at all. Now, in no way am I trying to say that Oda is a better artist than Kento Miura, because that is simply just not the case. But like, do you actually read One Piece at all, or are you just a hater? Because Oda has drawn some beautiful ships in his day. Not once, not twice, and also that is one of the most goated ship panels. This one also looks amazing with Whitebeard's ship just spewing out of the water. And even this one right here, absolutely amazing. Now obviously art is subjective, you can say which one you like more than the other. But to be honest, these Kento Miura panels don't blow those ships out of the water that Oda drew. They honestly are very comparable panels. Again, respect to both artists, Oda and Miura, they're both gods with the pencil, bro. But like, there's really no need to compare, like they're both goated series. Can we please just not do this?
A 9-year-old was brutally murdered and no one knew who'd done it until police found the neighbour's secret diary. It was a dark evening on the 21st of October 2009. Patty Priest lived in St. Martin's in Missouri and her daughter Elizabeth Alton had gone out that evening. She had literally just gone to pop to see her friend, so Patty was concerned when she failed to return home. She rang police to alert them of the missing 9-year-old. What transpired is like something out of a horror film. Police immediately started searching for the missing girl. They scoured the local area for any clues to her whereabouts. They would soon make a horrific discovery behind the neighbour's house. The 9-year-old had been buried in a shallow grave. Her autopsy revealed she had died a horrific death. She'd been strangled, stabbed, and had her throat slit. No one had any idea of who would be capable of such an abhorrent crime. Then they questioned the girl who lived at the house where Elizabeth's body was discovered. This was 15-year-old Alyssa Bustamante. Officers seized her journal in which they found a chilling confession. It read, "I just effing killed someone. I strangled them and slit their throat and stabbed them, now they're dead. I don't know how to feel at the mo. It was amazing. As soon as you get over the, oh my god I can't do this feeling, it's pretty enjoyable. I'm kinda nervous and shaky though right now. Hey, I gotta go to church now, lol." Her social media was also incredibly dark. She had references to bad decisions making great stories, and her hobbies were listed as cutting. She was arrested and taken in for questioning along with her grandma. When the teen confessed to the brutal murder, her nan ran outside in tears. Alyssa had lured Elizabeth to the nearby forest to hang out. She then ambushed her and launched the brutal attack. Alyssa would go on to plead guilty to second-degree murder and was given life in prison.
16-year-old spoiled teenager gets into a fight with his mom because he doesn't have his own American Express Gold card and decides to go onto the street and drive like a Formula One race car driver on a residential road. Just a few days before the accident, Kiernan filmed himself driving at 140 miles per hour, which was 4 times the speed limit where he was. There is a clip of him on the highway going nearly 140 miles per hour. There is a clip of him at a red light. When the light turned greens, he acts like this is the starting of an F1 circuit. He just pedals to the metal. He does the same thing in residential areas, and another time he's in this parking lot. He makes a left turn. He waits for this elderly woman to walk past, so clearly he knows this is an area where people are just walking around. He waits for her to pass, slams on the gas. 4 months leading up to the accident, in November of 2023, he was hitting speeds of 127, 143, 102, 150, 155 miles per hour on the road, all on completely separate dates. He thinks he's going to be featured on the next Fast and the Furious movie or something. I don't know what the purpose of any of this. The highest speed ever recorded was 2 weeks before the crash. He went 153 miles per hour for 20 miles. People did the math, which going 153 miles per hour for 20 minutes is about 8 minutes of full-on driving at 153 miles per hour.
So he was going like F1 speed.
Yes. Now, going 153 miles for 8 minutes, yes, maybe safe for F1 drivers, not for real roads. Clearly, Kiernan needs to be arrested. He's been driving recklessly for months prior to the accident. He would drive and just slam on the accelerator, sending the car 100, 150 miles down a residential street. Eventually, in November, he would slam it into a tree, killing his friend, his passenger, Flynn McCrell. Kiernan is currently out on bond awaiting trial, which is set to start February of 2025. He will be tried for second-degree murder. He's a minor when this took place. He was 16. He's 17 now, but he will be charged as adult designated, which means if he's convicted, the judge can sentence him as an adult or a juvenile or a mixture of both. They can kind of blend the sentence. The most he can face, if the judge decides to sentence him as an adult, he'll be facing life in prison as maximum punishment.
This girl said that when she was young, her family was having a reunion and it was going to be held at her aunt's house. So her parents and little brother decided to travel there and stay the night because it was a long distance away from their home. Once they got there, she realized that all her cousins were there too, and she was so excited to have some fun with them. So nighttime comes and it's time to go to bed, and she remembers when her aunt gathers up all the children and basically warns them to not get out of bed or roam around the house in the middle of the night. She mentions that one of the parents overheard her telling the kids that, and they were like, "Hey, what are you talking about? What do you mean?" And she heard when the aunt was like, "Well, at nighttime they scare us here." And the parents thought it was a joke. She was like, "Oh, come on, you can't be serious." And the aunt was like, "No, I'm being very serious. Do not let the kids roam around the house at night." So honestly, the parents didn't really believe her, and they had an idea to have all the kids go to sleep in the living room and they can make a fort out of it, and that way all the kids can be together and there was like no pranking going around or trying to scare one another. I don't think that was a good idea. If I had heard that, I'd be like, I'm gonna go to sleep with my mom, because what the fuck, I'm not sleeping in the living room. She just said things are roaming around. You're about to put me in the center of where things could be roaming around. Nevertheless, they all agreed. They made a fort out of like sheets and chairs, and they were underneath this like tent fort thing. So everyone decides to go to sleep, and the kids are in the living room. The parents go to each of the bedrooms, and just to give you an idea, from the living room there is a hallway, and in that hallway there's like 6 or 7 doors, and there's a whole bunch of bedrooms, and that is where the parents were gonna go to sleep. So again, everybody's going to sleep, and she says that this story more so comes from her little brother because he was the one that these things happened to. She says that they were all laying underneath that fort and that they were all talking, and she has no idea when she just like fell asleep, but she did as everyone was having conversation. So she remembers being shaken and her little brother telling her, "Wake up, wake up, wake up, something's happening in the house." She admits that it took her a while to actually wake up because she was in very deep sleep, and when she did, she hears a door slam so loud that she was like, "You see, you just woke up our aunts or uncles or our parents, and we're about to get in trouble." And her brother was like, "No, please stay awake. Something has happened in the house and I'm so scared. Do not go to sleep." And that's when she was like, "What the fuck are you talking about?" So he tells her in that moment, while he's still scared, that 5 minutes before he woke her up, he got woken up because he heard an adult male in that hallway talking very loudly. He tells her that he got curious because maybe he thought it was one of his uncles, so he peeked out of the fort and into that hallway, and that's where he saw like a shadow of a man with a sombrero, and the only thing that he could see at the very end of like any facial features were 2 red dots where the eyes are. And he said that scared him because no one in that house had that kind of like a silhouette where he can be like, "Oh, that's my uncle," or "That's my dad." He had no idea who that person was, and it was looking directly towards where he was. In that moment, he obviously goes back into the fort, covers himself up from head to toe with the blanket, and that is when the doors are like opening and closing and slamming like non-stop. Now, he says that the door slammings are from like each individual bedroom, and he starts panicking. He's like, "Please God, no God, I don't want to go through this." And it's scaring him more because nobody is coming from outside of those bedrooms. Like, the slams are so loud that he would expect his aunts or uncles, his parents, to come out and maybe check out what the hell's going on, but no one is coming out, and that is scaring him a lot more. And that's when he tells her that he got freaked out and he starts trying to wake up all the kids that are in the living room, and nobody's waking up. No one is even listening to those door slams because you would think they would be waking up to that, and he barely even got his sister to wake up then and there. So the sister, listening to all this, tells him, "Hey, everything's okay, nothing is happening. You're telling me all of this, but do you hear anything?" And she was like, "I did hear that door, but it could have very well been one of our aunts or uncles mad because you were talking. So just go to sleep, nothing is happening." And somehow they did end up going back to sleep. So morning comes and they're all having breakfast, and she is making fun of her little brother. She is laughing and she's trying to call him out in front of everyone. So she says, "Can you guys believe that he was scared in the middle of the night? He says that
said he was hearing like a man voice in the hallway and that doors were opening and closing. And again, she's laughing at him. And that is when their aunt was very seriously like, that's nothing to laugh about. Those are the same things that people claim to have seen and heard in the house in the middle of the night. So many people have seen a random guy in the hallway with a sombrero and has seen the doors open and close by themselves. She says that she has personally heard it in her home, but she's never had the guts to get up and like go figure out what it is. But that there has been adults that have claimed to have seen this. So the aunt was like, I believe your brother, and this is nothing to be laughing about. The aunt claims that the adults who have experienced this never come back to their house because that's how scared they are from witnessing everything that's happening. But anyway, this story is coming from Hablemos de lo que no existe. If you guys want to go check it out in Spanish. But yeah, what do you guys think?
The dogs were good again this week. Here are my top 5. At number 5, we have Frank. He sees you're making dinner and he would like to be included in that. At number 4, we have these two dogs. One of them helped mow the lawn this morning, but it's really hard to tell which. We have a tie at number 3 between Lola, who has the football handling skills of a World Cup winner while holding a frisbee, and Sesh, who figured out how to pick up and balance a ball on his head.
Here's a Sesh. Get it, Sesh. He's got tricks.
At number 2, we have Bo. He requires a kiss on the nose before eating his food. Our honorable mention this week goes to John Oliver's Emmy acceptance speech that he dedicated to all dogs everywhere.
She was an amazing dog, and this isn't just for her, this is for all dogs. All dogs, you're all very good girls, you're very good boys, you all deserve a treat. Play me off now. Thanks so much.
Before we get to our number 1 dog of the week, a reminder that we're partnered with The Farmer's Dog and can give you 60% off your first order through the link in our bio. The Farmer's Dog makes fresh dog food pre-portioned for your dog's specific needs and delivered right to your door. All their recipes are complete and balanced. Their mission is for dogs to live longer, and who doesn't want that? It is very loved and trusted by our interim CEO, Penny. If you've been wanting to try The Farmer's Dog for your dog, or I just convinced you to, head to the link in our bio for 60% off. Our number 1 dog of the week is Rowdy. On Monday afternoon, Tommy Holmes, a 4-year-old boy with autism, wandered away from his home in Kentucky. One moment he was playing with his sister and the family's 3 dogs, Rocco, Rowdy, and Kitty, and the next moment, Tommy and Rowdy were gone. Police searched for 14 hours with drones and bloodhounds. They eventually found the pair deep in the woods of Nortonville. Tommy was uninjured, but Rowdy had severe wounds to his legs and had lost a lot of blood. It seems he fought off another animal or several protecting Tommy. The family's eldest son carried Rowdy home. Rowdy lost consciousness on the way. He was taken to the vet where he got everyone's full attention, and as of yesterday evening, Rowdy is responding very well to fluids and antibiotics.
At the time of me filming this video, Marcellus Williams has less than 1 hour to live. In a last-ditch effort, they took the case to the United States Supreme Court, and he was rejected, in which the liberal judges said they disagree with that, but they're not the majority. It is 5:08 p.m. at the time of me filming this in Missouri. He is scheduled to be executed at 6 p.m. He is going to be executed. Marcellus Williams is going to be killed in less than an hour. A man convicted of a murder where no physical evidence placed him in the crime scene, no DNA evidence links him to it. They're going to kill him. The victim's family doesn't even want him to be executed. The prosecutors don't want this to happen, but the governor of Missouri wants to murder him instead of admitting that they just did a really bad job. Rest in peace, Marcellus Williams.
Do you hear what happened with the Schoolboy 9 guy?
Oh, I heard about that.
They're allegedly a PDF, if you know what that means.
He's a TikToker, but he's posting this crazy shit.
Hard work hard, pay
He pretty much wears a face mask to make himself look like a boy, wears boys' clothing. It's dark web content, but it's on TikTok.
What is that?
He lurks around elementary schools and pretends he's a kid, pretends he's going to school.
Ew, what the hell?
Apparently, there's a case that he's been some that go to a certain elementary school. And supposedly there's a hacker that's on the hunt for him because he has some information that he might be doing some things to the making them victim.
Look at his content.
Don't you ever be lazy. Don't you ever complain about hard work.
Apparently he lives like really close to the school too, which is so scary. But what do you do if you see somebody on the street like that though?
Did you see what they're building in Saudi Arabia?
This thing's crazy.
It's going to be the largest structure ever built in like humanity. And it's this giant golden cube in the center of the city. Basically, inside of it, it's going to be all augmented reality. So there'll be like giants walking, but it's like very Blade Runner, like Star Warsy.
Oh, man.
And they can change the whole atmosphere to look different.
Yeah.
So it can look like you're underwater, like the whole place is underwater, or you're at the Grand Canyon, or like.
But you're gonna have
in
like
the
projections
Alps.
in front of you, like
Everything.
It's gonna be. Oh my goodness.
It's so weird.
That's nightmare fuel. It's scary, but I kind of want to go.
I would go.
I kind of want to go. Hey, so if it, all the Saudi princes out there, you need some guinea pigs or hamsters. We're here, guys.
Well, let's rephrase that. Maybe like see what they're making.
Oh yeah, I mean like
don't test stuff on us.
We're all yours.
Nope. Try again.
Okay. We'll stay as long as you need it.
No.
Nope. We'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out,
when
yeah.
we get there.
No.
We'll buy one-way ticket.
No. No.
Okay.
Here are 5 of the scariest horror movies to watch alone at night, but make sure you do it at your own risk. Now, before we get into that, if you love all things horror, all things spooky just as much as I do, be sure to hit that follow button. The Grudge follows an American nurse who is living and working in Tokyo, and she's exposed to a supernatural curse. And this curse locks a person into a powerful rage before claiming their life and spreading to its next victim. It's by far one of the scariest horror movies of my childhood, and it stars Scream Queen, Horror Queen, Sarah Michelle Gellar. It's available on Peacock. High Tension follows Marie, who stays at her best friend's parents' secluded farmhouse. The night that they arrive, this getaway weekend soon turns into something out of their worst nightmares. This movie is terrifying with an interesting mystery taking place. It's thrilling. It's going to have you on the edge of your seat. Definitely check this one out on Prime Video. Stag Night follows 4 friends who are returning from a bachelor party, and they bring back 2 hot strippers with them. The group gets abandoned in a subway station, and they soon fall prey to a psychotic homeless man. They are now in the fight for survival in this secluded, claustrophobic area. A night that should have been fun and lucky, if you know what I mean, turns into something anything but that. This is available on Prime Video as well. Seconds Apart follows a detective who learns that 2 twin brothers have this mental power that causes for people to harm themselves after the death of 4 high school students. Soon, one of the brothers falls in love and the other one becomes jealous, and we now see them in an epic battle. This movie is super creepy and menacing, and it has a nice psychological aspect to it. Check it out on Tubi. Vacancy follows a couple whose car breaks down, and they spend the night at a remote hotel, and to pass time by, they watch low-budget horror movies that are in their room, only to discover that these videos are in fact real and they take place in their room at the hotel. They now have to find a way out before they become the next victims of these films. If you like movies such as The Strangers, you're gonna love this one. Check it out on Tubi.
Do not watch this video if you're easily disturbed. A dad woke his children in the middle of the night, crammed them into a van, and then did the most hideous thing you could ever imagine. The reason he gave for what he did is absolutely mind-blowing. It was the 7th of August 2021 in Santa Barbara. Matthew Taylor Coleman was a Californian surfing teacher. He and his wife Abby had 2 adorable children together. These were 2-year-old Khaleo and 10-month-old Roxy. On the day in question, Abby phoned the police. She was very concerned that her husband had suddenly left without warning and taken the children. Now, she didn't think that any harm would come to them, but she was really concerned that she couldn't get hold of them. Little did she know her husband was checking into a hotel. He entered the City Express Hotel in Mexico with their 2 children. Abby eventually managed to track her husband down on Find My iPhone after getting advice from the police. She was obviously stunned to discover that he was a 5-hour drive away. It was on August the 9th that police ended up going to Abby's house to speak with her. However, she wasn't there, but her friends were. They told officers that Matthew and Abby had been communicating via text. In the early hours of the morning, Abby had received a text message from Christopher. He told her that he was having crazy thoughts and that hopefully the craziness would end soon. Abby had set off in the car to try and drive to where he was. Matthew texted her that he loved her and then crammed his children into a van. He drove to a remote ranch, took them out of the van, and took out a spear fishing gun. He murdered his children by stabbing them over 12 times each. He then simply returned to the hotel and checked out. The children's lifeless bodies were discovered in a ditch at 7:30 a.m. by a local farmer. Around 1 p.m. that day, Matthew was apprehended at the border by the FBI after trying to return back to the US. He confessed to murdering his children and stated that he'd done so because he believed that his wife had passed on to them her serpent DNA. He said he was saving the world and didn't want them to grow up to be monsters. He's charged with 2 counts of murder but is actually pleading not guilty. Let me know what your thoughts are on this case. Was he experiencing psychosis? And what do you reckon the sentence should be?
What this woman did to her husbands was pure evil. During the early 1900s, there was a woman named Mississippi who lived in western Florida. In the year 1909, she would marry her first husband named Cucumber at an old mansion venue. But that night after everyone left, it would be the last time Q was ever seen again by anybody. Missy would go on and remarry 10 more times over the next few years, with the same exact outcome every time and oddly enough at the same wedding venue. By the year 1917, she was already a multi-millionaire with all the assets she gained from her widowed husbands. But in 1918, a man named Sal Manella decided to marry Missy, just a few months after meeting each other. The wedding went great, and when all the guests left, Missy asked Sal if he wanted to play a game, and he agreed. So they went to the backyard of the venue, where there was a giant pond, and she blindfolded Sal and connected weights to his legs. And before he could react, she picked him up and threw him in the pond. But unbeknownst to Missy, he would survive and escape after the chain broke, and he exited out the wooded area behind the pond. After a few hours on foot, he was able to reach the police station and get help. That same night, the police entered the venue while Missy was sleeping and arrested her. But it took over an hour and a dozen officers to finally contain her. The following morning, the pond was drained, and let's just say it was not a pretty sight.